Hi everyone, it's Saraswati. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and also if you click that little bell shape, it's going to send you notifications every time I have a new video. So today the video that I have for you, it's brand new, and this is a section that is designed for beginners. So this is an intro section. The holds are going to be between 3 and 5 minutes, and maybe we're brand new to Yin, maybe we're brand new to yoga, maybe we've been doing our practice for a long time, but we want to come back to the basics. I'm going to talk about skeletal variation and how each of our bodies are different. For all of you, be sure to listen to your own body. Remember that I am not a doctor and that every single pose could be good and bad for somebody. And a lot of how we teach and practice Yin is we want you to get to know your own body. You might not need a lot of Yin Yoga. You might need a great deal of Yin Yoga. And that's a lot of what we're going to look at today. So what I want you to do in this practice, also one thing I wanted to note, in my last video I forgot to tell you, because I leave space here and there's no music, if you're ever looking for yoga music, I have lots of different playlists on Spotify under my name, Saraswati Hewitt, also under Beautiful Genius Podcast. That's sort of like the secret playlist. So if you ever want yoga music, be sure to check that out. So today what we're going to do, I'm going to have you grab a strap if you have it. And if we don't have a strap, that's okay. We could even use like a towel, a kitchen towel, even a piece of fabric. Anything will be fine. And I encourage you to have water or tea, anything that you might need. The other thing you might do is you might grab a pillow or a blanket, and you could use this for the seated space. Also, when we later do lunges, that can be really important for supporting the knee. Okay, so no matter what style we're practicing, we always begin in this seated space. And sitting in any way that's comfortable, so you might be taking that kind of half lotus. It might be more comfortable to sit like onto the shin, so I'm going to demo that as well. So it could be better to be like here. Yeah, listen to your own body. So we're going to start, and if it's comfortable, if it feels okay, I want you to close your eyes. And we just take a moment so that we scan the body. And I want you to be noticing how you feel. So we're noticing things like, how do our joints feel? Maybe we have soreness in our shoulder or our low back, or maybe, the jaw is sore or something, or we have a headache. So just getting to know, how does the body feel? I also have us check in with our digestive realm and also with the sleep realm. The more we practice yoga and the more that we practice specifically Yin, we might see really positive changes in these realms. So just take a moment, gently observe how we feel. Again, notice the joints, notice digestion. Think about how have we been sleeping. Now together, we're going to all very gentle bring the hands to the heart. And we start by setting our intentions. And we dedicate our practice. And we remember that all the things that we do, and all the things that we say, and all the energetic arrows that we shoot, they matter and they have tremendous impact inside of us and all around us. Now let's gently release the hands, and you're going to slowly open your eyes. Good. Now for this first space, you might want to actually move this pillow away. In true Yin Yoga, part of what we're doing, instead of trying to make it look a certain way, it's really more about, what does it feel like, and can we target certain muscle, connective tissue, fascia groups. So in this first piece, what you're going to do, you're going to come to seated, and with your right leg forward, you might be pulling this left foot into midline. And so by taking it into midline, when you lean forward, you might feel this in the back of the leg, like the hamstring group, but you might be feeling it more like in that low back area. Sometimes if you just drop the head or the chin, you'll feel it more like neck, thoracic area. Now you can round the back in Yin. That's one of the things that's a little bit different about Yin Yoga. So in some of our styles of yoga, we don't round the back, but it's okay to do that in Yin. Now, the other thing I want you to note, because this is our class where we're really going to break it down, we're really going to get to know the body here. So it might be better to actually bend the left knee and have this sort of style this way and lean forward. One of these is usually more comfortable for the body, and that's part of what we call that skeletal variation. So we're going to get to know the body. Okay, what you're going to do is find whichever space works, and I'm going to be timing us. Now, we're going to be doing 3 minutes on each side. And your key is to go slow, because a lot of what makes it Yin is that we're doing a long hold. You don't have to do 100%. There are benefits at 5% stretching and 10% and 20% and everywhere along the way. So we don't need to push. In fact, it can often be better to let it be a little bit softer. Okay, so I've got my right leg forward. Find that skeletal variation that works for that left leg. And you could take the hands on either side of the right leg, or even hands to the foot. Some of you might use that strap or towel or fabric and gently pull if you want to. And we're going to do 3 minutes here. And we just keep our face soft. Now, as we're breathing here, remember, we're noting, where do we feel the most sensation? Because your tighter, shorter tissues, that's always going to be what you feel first. So if the back is tighter, you're going to feel the back. If it's more the hamstrings, you're probably going to feel a lot of hamstring. So just go slow, keep breathing. And we're not actually trying to force the breath. We are not trying to create any type of what we call, in more different styles of yoga, we would call pranayama. So in this Taoist style, in the Yin style, instead what happens is naturally, by doing this kind of stretching, the breath is going to drop into the low belly, what's called that low dantian. And one thing that happens when the breath comes down here, it's not only really good for your digestion, but it's going to stimulate that whole serotonin realm, enteric nervous system. It's stimulating our vagal system, which has direct communication into the brain. And so we're really using our own body to heal the body. Just keep breathing. Try to soften the face. Notice if we clench the jaw. Some of us do a lot of jaw clench. Good. As you're breathing here, know that even if we've done other types of yoga for many years, they're probably in the yang style. Things like hatha, vinyasa, a lot of these qualities fall into yang. They focus more on muscles and repetitive kind of stress movement, different than what we're doing here, which is that sustained hold. And we're moving past just working in the muscle. We're actually going into the fascia, into the connective tissues, and we can end up doing a lot of healing for ligaments and even the bones. Just keep the face soft. Excellent. Now that's 3 minutes, and I want you to just gentle release. And remember, you want to take whatever feels best. So if you need to take a moment laying on the back, you could do that. Maybe we want to do more like cat-cow, down dog. So listen to the body. Remember, it's normal. We might feel clicking, popping, shifting. Our sides could be very, very different. And this is something that you will hear me discuss a great deal in yoga. And so I'm going to cover this now so that when we have our other videos, you'll already have a lot of this information. You'll always be looking for it. We tend to use the right and the left body very differently. So especially in the West, what tends to happen, so for example, that first pose we did, it's very common that the hamstrings on the left side are actually tighter than the right. And the reason that is we tend to be right-handed. We tend to stand more on the left leg, and that will make it kind of tighter and stronger at the same time. So what we're going to be looking for as we practice, we're looking for differences, details. Okay, let's do that second side. So here you've got your left leg forward. I want you to maybe pull that right foot in, but remember you might be bending that right knee back. And we don't expect that the sides are the same. Maybe it's slightly different on the different sides. Good, listen to the body, whichever one you choose. And again, we'll do 3 minutes here. Yep, just find that very, very first stretch. Again, I want you to notice, do you feel this more in the low back? Is it more in the hamstrings? Notice those details. Just keep breathing. Keep the face soft. There are tissues in the body that can't be stretched until we hold for long periods of time. And what we find is that these tissues, they're the tissues that they need that sustained pull. And part of what happens is what's called a phase change. And so it actually affects like the fluidity within the tissues. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. So know this, that when we practice yin, we use the body to heal the body. There are a lot of really good things locked away in the system. There's a lot that your system produces. But by doing this kind of stretching, you're stimulating the tissues and you're stimulating the body, and you're telling it to do things like make that hyaluronic acid, which cushions and supports your joints. Keep breathing. Good. Just keep breathing. Try to keep your face soft. Really, really good. Now you're going to release and just go super, super gentle. And remember to take whatever you want in between. You might go onto the back. You might take that cat-cow. When we've never done yin yoga, it can be intense. It can be sort of shocking. Even if we've danced or done martial arts or something else, if we've never done this kind of stretching, this can feel very, very different to the system. And part of what is very important that I talk with you all about is that we use yin yoga not only for insomnia, but we use it for anxiety and depression, to help us with all these other aspects. We use yin yoga for PTSD. We are using this practice to help us to process and to sleep. But one of the things that happens with yin is that at times it gives us a lot of space. And so if we're working through things that might at times be stressful, And know that at any moment you can release your shape or do something different. And the key for us is to just go really, really slow. All of our bodies are different. We all have a different experience. Now what we're going to do in this next one is we're going to go into child's pose. And so there's a couple ways to do this. Again, by getting to know our own body, it not only helps us to know what shapes work the best, but that way we also can avoid injury. So in this one, it's more about that we don't just want to feel compression. So next what you're going to do is in this one, there's a couple ways to do it. I could either have my knees together or I can have my knees apart. So if I have my knees apart, I can reach my hands forward or I could take my hands back. And I could do it the same. Knees could be together. My hands can go forward or back. But what you have to note, for some of us, if the knees are together, that might create a kind of compression in the front hip. And so if that's happening, try it with the knees wide and maybe we're getting a better kind of stretch. You might be feeling this in a couple different areas, like your back. Some of you will feel it in the top of the feet. We're going to notice all those details. So whatever variation you want, child's pose, and we're just going to be here for 3 minutes. So child's pose, 3 minutes. Let's try to soften as much as possible. One of the things you'll notice with this shape is we're actually using our legs, our thighs to gently maybe compress into the belly. So you're massaging your intestines, small intestine and large intestine, colon, using the body to heal the body. There are so many benefits to Yin Yoga, but that is just one, this element of physical compression. It can clean blood, it can clean what's called the lymphatic system. In all of our practices of yoga, we're gently cleaning out that tubing, plumbing system throughout the body. It's a separate system than where the blood runs, so it's going to clear toxins. And any kind of inversions, any kind of compression helps to stimulate the cleansing of these systems. So again, you're just using your own body. It's really cool. Keep breathing here. Just try to keep the face soft. You might gently observe, where do we feel the most sensation? Are we feeling it in that low back area? Maybe we feel stretch across the heart area, the thoracic area. Keep the face soft. Very good. Now you're going to exhale. And super, super gentle, you're going to release. And yeah, just take anything that you want in between. That could be like cat-cow or down dog. Yin is like the easiest, hardest thing in the world. And at times it will look like we aren't doing very much, but by doing those sustained holds, it can be very intense in the body. Now again, part of what we're going to look at today, we're getting to know if some areas hold more tension than others. Now in the next piece, we're going to target a group of muscles in the inner leg, like adductor, and then maybe into the groin. But I want you to remember that the tighter, shorter tissues are always what you feel first. So as you come into this next piece, if you feel the back more, then maybe the back is tighter. So we're looking at where we feel the most sensation. This is also a piece that has a great deal to do with the bones. I came from a dance background, ballet, jazz tap, this whole dance realm. And a lot of us were taught for a long time that if we worked hard enough, we could eventually have certain turnout. And same with yoga, we were taught, if you worked hard enough forever that, you could get this knee to drop or whatever in double pigeon. But now we know a lot more about the bones. We know more about what we call skeletal variation. So for example, in this next one, we're gonna take the legs wide, but this could look really, really different for each of you. You might be doing this class by yourself right now. You might be doing it with friends, family, other people. And if we're doing it with others, we're gonna note that maybe our bodies look very different. For some of us, the legs will go really, really far back. For some of us, the legs are not gonna go that far back. And let me assure you that really it mostly has to do with the bones. I have seen people that have never done yoga in their lives, but they can put both their feet behind their head. And I've also seen people that have done yoga 6 days a week for 40 years and their legs still hardly move any further than they first did. So what you see in the rotation here is about 70% bone, 30% muscle. So with some yoga, right, we're gonna see some change. But for each of us, it's going to be different depending on what's happening already in the bones. So get to know the body, caring for the body. In this one, so yeah, take your legs wide. I'm going to actually give us 5 full minutes in this one. So I want you to go super, super slow. You're just going to lean into this. Some of you might go very deep into it, but remember, we're going to be here for 5 full minutes. Okay, as you're here, what I want you to first notice is where do you feel the most sensation? Maybe we get lots of stretch here. Maybe it's, again, that groin. Could be low back. And just gently observe and breathing. So as we're breathing here, know that the Yin practice has its roots in the Kung Fu lineage. And so this is basically the stretching that you do before you do Kung Fu, or like you Jiu-Jitsu or different practices. And so what we're doing here are these long holds, right, to get into those deeper tissues. And originally it was a practice that was paired with Kung Fu. Yin in itself is incomplete. It's important that we remember that. We must have the yin and the yang, but we can easily become out of balance. So what I've noticed in my years of teaching, especially in the West, is that we can get way too yang. And what we need to provide harmony and to find the balance is the yin practice. But remember, for each of us, our bodies can change. All of us are different. Yin wants you to find harmony. Yin is not saying, all of you need to do yin yoga. Not at all. Yin is like, maybe you don't even need yin yoga, right? What we really have to do is figure out that combination of yin and yang. And a lot of times what yin does, one of the things it does, is it provides a really, really good anchor. So this helps us to see what areas need mobility and what areas maybe need strengthening. One of the most impressive things for me was meeting people in the Yin team who also encouraged things like the Kung Fu and weightlifting and the things that brought the Yang balance. So remember, that's part of it. We're looking for that harmony. Keep breathing. Keep your face soft. Just keep breathing.
this gentle stretching. The boredom is actually really important. That's something that I have learned more about studying the neurobiology of sleep and its connection with yoga. Yin is a cognitive behavioral therapy, and that is what is prescribed for insomnia. So part of why we use our practice is it really helps us sleep. And for a long time, we didn't quite understand how. But what's going to happen is when you practice Yin, and once you get to know, whether you're practicing here with me or at a studio or wherever, we're going to start to be able to do that kind of deep processing. It's going to have us thinking about maybe the past, the future, and pretty soon we become an observer to our own thoughts. This is the route to meditation. Yin is like the shortcut to meditation, because without even trying, we start to become much more aware of the self. What do we focus on the most? What matters the most? You will see so much with this practice. I have watched so many people change their lives with yoga, but honestly, there's something super magical and different about Yin. So you'll see. Just keep going. Just keep breathing. Excellent. Okay, that was 5 minutes. Now go very, very slow. That is a long hold. Remember that it's normal. We might feel like clicking, popping movement. Yep, anything that we want in between. Now what we're doing, so we're looking at these different ways to work in the body. What I'm going to have us now do is we're going to be putting those pieces that we first did back together, meaning that with the one leg forward and the other pulled in, this is sort of like breaking the legs apart. But now what we're going to do is we're going to put it back together. And in Yin, we call this caterpillar pose. Now there's a couple of things I want us to note here. This also is very important for our body. You do not need to try to force your feet up. So I'm going to turn so you can see. You can actually allow the feet to fall out. And for some of you, they won't fall out much. They might fall out a lot. Left and right could be totally different. So again, these are the things we're going to notice. Now, something that I want to tell you, and I wanted to make a note of here for my athletes, and that could be, you might be runners, you might be playing soccer, tennis, golf. We find that a lot of times we're doing different things left and right. So let's say that when we came to this first piece, like it's common that the left side is tighter. If we come to this piece and one leg is not a little tighter, but like 20 times tighter or something, then maybe what we need is to go, instead of going into this, maybe you go back to the harder leg or something. So just have option. You might do this work, and then when you have time, what you're working on is a little bit extra on that tighter side. So just get to know, maybe they're pretty much the same, maybe they're different. If we're working with injury or something, we might be doing different things. So we're just going to be aware of that. Good. Now in this one, with your legs together, again, you might grab the strap. You don't have to. So lots of choices. We could do like tiny bit of pull. Some of you will add like a pillow here and lean over the pillow. Some of you will be coming so deep into that shape that you're going to want to add something here. You might feel it entirely in the back of the leg, or you might feel it all in the back. And remember that you could even just like let the head slightly go forward, and that is still doing the shape. Just a couple, 5% in this, and you're still doing that Yin quality. It's all about how long we hold. Okay, so again, we're going to do 5 minutes. So gentle, letting the feet be soft, listen to the body. 5 minutes, caterpillar pose. All of our bodies are different, and it's important that we note whether we're looking at the lineage that has been passed through India or the lineages that have been passed through China Shaolin Temple, and we have gratitude, so much gratitude for these practices, we must remember that for a long time they were really practiced by young contortionist men. And maybe our bodies are different than that. Also, we might not be sitting and meditating for 20 hours a day or practicing 5 hours of Kung Fu. You might not be breaking concrete. Maybe you do Kung Fu. But maybe you carry kids or carry trays or sit a lot and type or drive a lot. So I encourage us now to practice in a way where we use these ancient tools and we give a great deal of love and respect to them, but we also recognize that we each need different things. And so we might need different things for the body depending on our bones, depending on our habits, right, our lifestyle. So just get to know, for each of us, there might be some shapes that we need more than others. We could come to some shapes that we don't need at all, and things can change. Good, just keep breathing. Remember, you're noticing, is it more in the back? Scan throughout the back. And notice that whole back side of the body. Hamstrings, large muscles in the back of the leg. And just keep breathing. And just gently notice where the thoughts go. Your thoughts may be moving very quickly, but as we practice Yin, we move Yin side, and the thoughts begin to slow. We can actually see now through brain scan imagery the things that yogis have spoken of and written about for thousands of years. This ability to slow the mind. Just keep breathing, not trying to rush this process. The key is to go slow. And if you are here, if you have arrived in Yin, let me assure you that you're very, very smart and you're stronger than you know. Yin is challenging, but I promise it will be worth it. And no matter who you are, no matter how old we are, no matter what languages we speak, yoga is absolutely for everybody. The roots of yoga really are about removing suffering, and not just our own suffering, but the suffering of the whole world. And so we practice first so that we can really care for our body. But then what happens is yoga makes you better at everything you do, and it makes you more compassionate. It's going to change who you are. You'll see. Keep breathing. Very, very good. Now I want you to release. Probably go all the way onto the back. Just go really, really slow. Take a moment. Remember, it's normal to feel like clicking, popping, shifting. We are using our own body to heal the body. Part of what I love about Yin is that you really don't need much. Like, it's cool to have props, but part of how I teach you is in this way where a lot of what you're using is your own body to practice. So we're looking at these different areas. Maybe we have found tension in the adductors, maybe we are feeling it in the hammies, maybe we're starting to notice that our back is really tight. Now we're going to move into a different part of the body. We're going to look at the front of the body. And in Yin, there's a couple different target areas here. So what we look at are here up in this area, that's the hip flexor area. And then we're also going to be going into the quads, and those are those large front leg muscles. Now one thing to note, because this is something that's very, again, different about Yin, because we're doing these long holds, you might need to put support on the back knee. But also remember that we're removing adhesions and scar tissue, so this can be intense and go slow. We might feel like clicking, popping, movement sensation. Okay, so what we're going to do, some of you are going to grab that pillow. I'm going to demo with that so that you make sure you have enough support for your back knee. So if you take this pillow here, you're going to bring the right leg forward. I'm going to show you this from a couple different angles, because it's different for everybody. So for some of you, your hands, they might actually be like up here. Some of you are gonna wanna drop the hands down, like on either side of the foot. And then some of you are actually gonna walk the foot out and bring the hands on the inside. So it's different for everybody. Sometimes what you're gonna feel is like an inner leg stretch, and sometimes it's all the front hip on this side. So just listen to your own body. I'm going to give us just 3 minutes on each side, which could be a lot. This could be the hardest pose we do. Some of you will feel nothing, and for some of you it will be the hardest piece that we do. So I want you to take that right leg forward. Yep, make sure that that back knee is protected. Yeah, and arms can be anywhere. Breathing here. We try to keep the face soft. Noticing, where do we hold tension? Can we soften our shoulders? Can we soften the face? And this is getting again into that front side of the body. A lot of what we've been looking at is actually more in that back side of the body. And so we're noting those details. Do we hold tension in certain areas more than others? Keep breathing. Try to keep the face soft. And just keep listening to the body. Remember, the hands can go on either side, or you might take the hands down and walk that foot out. As we're going deeper into the stretch, like after a few minutes, what we feel might actually change. And so I'm going to talk about what's happening in the body. After we're here for a couple minutes, we might experience, and we might even feel the sensation of what we call a phase change. Just keep breathing here. Just keep breathing here. Notice, maybe it's getting more challenging right about now. Maybe it's starting to feel like you can go a little bit deeper. So I want you to notice that. Notice the sensations. Excellent. Now you're going to release and go slow, and taking anything at all that we want in between. And it might almost feel like we can't move very quickly, kind of, in and out of the shape, because while the muscles, they open quickly and then they recoil fast, these tissues are different. Connective tissue fascia, it's like taffy, right? It takes longer to open, and then you get that super, super slow rebound. So yeah, feel and taking anything at all that we want. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the second side. We're not expecting that they'll be the same, and I'm going to finally explain what is phase change. Okay. Left leg forward, second side. Make sure that that back knee is supported. Yeah, listen to the body, second side. Good. Now as we're breathing here, first what I need you to imagine is a sponge. So we imagine a sponge, and it's actually very accurate if we imagine that this sponge is like dipped in butter, because butter has these two phases, these two stages. It can be hard or it can be melted and very smooth. So imagine that you have a sponge, and imagine when a sponge is hard, it's like crunchy and it doesn't really move. But if you dip it in water or butter, then it would become soft and very bendy. So you imagine the sponge, and then you imagine that you've dipped it in butter. This is actually really accurate because you've got the collagen and that, I almost said hydrochloric acid, that hyaluronic acid, and what you've got is this gel sol that's in between like the crevices of your sponge. But because it's got those two different consistencies, what often happens is that things get really crunchy and hard because we don't stretch enough, and we don't stretch for long enough. So what you're doing is you are creating that sustained pull in these different kinds of tissues, right? This is not just the muscle work, this is the fascia and the connective tissue, which is around the muscle and woven throughout the body. So these tissues, by doing this longer hold, you're creating that pull, and around 2.5 minutes, what happens, it's like the butter melts. All of a sudden, this change happens. And for some of you, you might feel a little bit of a change. It might get more intense. The more you practice yin, here's what's going to happen. Once you're doing even an hour of yin, you actually create a little bit of lengthening in those tissues. And the next time you do an hour of yin, you're going to lengthen a little bit more. So what happens is, the more you lengthen the tissues, then all that has to happen is you reach 2.5, 3 minutes, and you feel that sort of phase change, and some of you are going to go way deeper in the pose. So you're going to get to know the body and what's happening in the body. So just know that by doing this long kind of hold, this kind of stretching, you're allowing access to fluids in those tissues. Maybe we've never felt this before. So just keep breathing, go slow, let the body heal the body. Very, very good. Now we're going to release. And again, take anything that you want in between. Good. That's the way. Listen to the body. Maybe we feel clicking or popping or shifting. Yep, anything at all that you want. And what we're going to do, because we're going to do a couple more pieces, and next I'm going to have us look at the adductor. And part of why this is important is this is another one that has a really big component of the skeletal variation. So like I mentioned in the beginning, so we can come to seated. Like I mentioned in the beginning, when I first came to yoga, many of us were taught that you could get to this double pigeon shape with the knee dropped if you only did enough yoga. But we know now that it really has more to do with the bones. So what you're going to do, you're going to try a couple different shapes today. This is going to be a testing process. And again,
This is designed as an intro class for us to really get to know, so that when we move into using the other videos or going to classes and doing other things, we're already going to know a lot more about the body. And here's the reason why. A lot of us have been trying to get into shapes that maybe don't work great for the body. Now maybe you're going to find that there's more than one piece to target the glute, that kind of fleshy bum tissue area, but maybe only one piece works. We had found that a lot of us were trying to get into pigeon, which in Yin we would call sleeping swan or swan, and a lot of us were finding that it wasn't actually working as good at stretching the glute as maybe just crossing the ankles or doing more like tighter shoelace, the Gomukhasana style. So the key is to find what works for your body. You're going to start seated. Take your left leg under. So do this. Keep the left knee in line with that left ankle. And so then you stack this right ankle directly on top. For some of you, that knee will drop right down. And that could be the bones. You might lean forward and be like, that's great. I feel it in the back and the glute. That might be your shape. For some of you, if this knee is really high, that might not work, that double pigeon, but maybe just crossing the ankles allows you more space where, again, maybe you feel back or glute. Other option would be that tighter shoelace like the Gomukhasana. Now remember, it's not about what it looks like. You're going to hear me say that a lot. Doesn't matter what it looks like. It's all about what it feels like in Yin. And here, we're really looking for that stretch. And you might feel it kind of into the back glute. So maybe you're doing this one. Yep. So I want us to look at just those three today. And you're going to do whichever one you like. I'm going to be doing this piece where I'm just crossing my ankle. So you might be doing that. So whichever one works. And we're just going to do 3 minutes on each side. Okay. First side. 3 minutes. Here we go. Some areas will be more challenging than others. Left and right can be very different. This is an area that we might hold a great deal of tension. Commonly, we're going to be finding the left side to be a little tighter if you're right-handed. And I want you to notice details. Maybe some poses you might be looking forward to or you sort of like, and maybe others we really don't like or we find to be very challenging. So you're going to see that we also have a kind of relationship with the poses, with the different ways that we can work in yoga. So noticing this could be very challenging. Maybe we don't like it, but maybe we really need this stretch a lot. So we're getting to know more about what we need in the body. Just keep breathing. And this is another one where if the back is really tight, you might only feel the back. You might not even be able to access the glutes, so just notice that. Keep breathing. Try to keep the face soft. Just keep letting go. Yoga helps us to release all the things that the body and the mind and the soul no longer need. Using our own body to heal and cleanse our body.
very good. That's 3 now. I want you to release and I want you to go super, super slow. Anything that you want in between, remember it's normal. We might feel like clicking, popping movement. And whichever piece you're doing, so we're going to come to the second side. And things tend to be a little different. They might be a lot different. I mentioned in the beginning, when we are right arm dominant, we tend to kind of stand more on the left leg. We are unknowingly standing on our left leg to free that dominant right arm. So the left hamstrings, like back of the leg, get tighter, but often the left glute's tighter too. So we're going to note that. Come to the second side, and again, we'll do 3 minutes, but second side. Okay, here we go. And that could be, again, double pigeon, or just crossing the ankles like me, or maybe that tighter kind of shoelace Gomukhasana. Excellent. 3 minutes. Sometimes when we really need yin, it can suck and it can be really hard, and I know that. And part of why I really like to teach all of you yin, especially intro to yin, is because when I first came to yin, I was just like, ugh, yin's the worst. It's so hard. And I see everything about the self when I'm here. It's just too much. But for many of us, we grow to love this practice because it not only helps us to love ourselves, but to connect. We connect more with the self, with the body, with the community. Yin is often the gateway to meditation and the gateway into what we call the subtle practices of yoga. For many of us now, we start and we focus mainly or entirely on the physical aspect of yoga. But that is the smallest slice. Remember, the practices were done for the goal of meditation, right? That was what it was all about. We wanted to be able to sit and practice meditation. So we are prepping our body and we're prepping our mind. And along the way, we are meditating. And at times we have space, and that's going to allow a kind of pre-cleansing in your brain that needs to happen so that you don't get insomnia. So remember, the spaces in between are very, very healing in our yin practice. Good, just keep breathing. Keep breathing, keep your face soft. Okay, that's 3 now. Really, really gentle. We release there. Good. Go slow. And again, notice clicking, popping, any kind of movement in between. We're getting into a lot of these main target areas. And now, what we're going to do next is we're going to take a look at the arms. Some of my team, my yin team here in Portland, Oregon, where I live, we were practicing a lot of vinyasa, ashtanga, as well as hatha and yin. And so we started to add some deeper kind of yin quality stretches into the arms. But what it's key to remember is that we never do this kind of yin stretching in the arms for more than 2 minutes. So just remember that the max that we do is 2 minutes. I'm actually going to be only giving us just like the 1 minute stretches here today. But just remember, if for any reason we ever do this on our own, I do not recommend doing the arm stretches for any more than 2 minutes. The nerve structure in the shoulder is very different than the nerve structure in the hips, and it's not designed for that same kind of longer hold. Now what we're going to do in this first one, you're going to use that strap or towel, and we might feel this in a couple different places. So this is also the common things that we see in a right-handed body. So in your right arm, you tend to have lots of small kind of micro movements that we're really good at. So these muscles, these little tiny ones, can get really good at doing those fine kind of motor skills. So that's what the right arm or your dominant arm will generally do. Now on the other side, it's more like the lats and the serratus that do the work. And we get to know this. So for example, if you're right-handed and you go to brush your teeth with the left hand, this is what my teacher used to have us do. We would always laugh. It was like, don't let anyone see you do it. Like, don't let the cat or anyone see you, because it's going to be messy, because your non-dominant arm is not used to those micro fine motor skills. But here's the other realm of it. I noticed recently, I was trying to open a coconut oil jar, and I was noticing, well, I always hold with the right arm and then I twist with the left, right, using these muscles. And when I tried to do it the other way, I was like, can't do it, because these ones are not as developed as these. So part of what you're looking at here are the details and the differences left and right. I teach you in a way where our work here is only part of our yoga. You're going to go back into your alayas and look at things like, how do you stand? How do you sit? How do you sleep? Do we carry things with the same arm? You're going to start to see all these habits and these patterns. Yoga can be the gateway. Okay, so grab that strap or towel, and remember, we're just going to do like a minute on each one today. Okay, so I take my strap into my right arm. I'm going to show this from a couple of different angles. So if I bend my right elbow and then I reach this left arm back, for some of us, so check this out, for some of us it's like here. Some of you might kind of inch the hands closer or like really close. Some of you will not even use a strap because you might be able to grab the hands. Even if we can grab the hands, you might still want to use the strap. So whatever works for the body. Yeah, we're going to do 1 minute there on that first side. So we take the strap in the right arm. Yeah, and the legs can be anywhere. You could even do it standing if it's more comfortable. Good. And breathe. Let it be your own. You could close the eyes. We might, lift the chin a little. Just be very gentle. And I want you to observe, where do you feel the most sensation? Because this is an area, the arm area, it tends to be pretty different left and right. So yeah, scan the body if you want. You might even close the eyes. Very good. Now you're going to exhale super slow and just feel all that fresh blood coming in. Now we remember that the sides could be completely different, and in fact the arms tend to be fairly different. For my lefties, they tend to be more ambidextrous, so we're just going to notice those details. So second side when you're ready, but we're going to do the same amount of time. So just 1 minute here. Yeah, reach that arm up, bend the elbow, and then reach that opposite arm back. Good, and breathing there. Yin Yoga is such a phenomenal way to get to know the self. And in this practice, really, we come back to a lot of the classic roots of yoga. Yoga started as a seated practice, a meditative practice, studying scripture, text, and the first 500 years of yoga are seated meditation. That's right, the first 500 years. That's a long time. Good. Take another breath here. And then release, really gentle. So yeah, the first 500 years in yoga, you had two shapes. You had full lotus, right? Don't try this at home. And you had half lotus. And that was it. That was the party. That was the jam. That was all you got, because the whole thing was you sat and you meditated. But then they started to find really just a couple basic shapes at first. Original early hatha looked a great deal like yin. And the whole point was, how could we care for the body so that you could then sit more and meditate more? They also found that after they'd done these stretches, it made it easier to meditate. It wasn't just easier physically, but it changed how they felt mentally as well. Okay, now final piece with your strap. Go slow. With this one, I want you to stack maybe like the wrist above the elbow. We're going to be stretching into like the bicep, pectoralis, major, minor area. And again, we're just going to do a minute here. So let it be your own. Go very gentle. I can't emphasize enough that every pose is good and bad for somebody, because we might come to something and feel nothing and not need it. Some of you will not need any arm work. And then some of you are going to come to the arm work and be like, whoa, this is intense. I need to do this every day. So we really just check in and see how the body is feeling. Good. Breathing here. Keep the face soft. Soften all the muscles in the face, the jaw, even the tongue. And that's the way we exhale and release. Take that strap gently to the side. Good. We looked at all these different target areas, the main ones which are now the arm work. We do quad, hip flexor. We looked at our hamstring. We looked at the glute. We're now going to be doing some work that's very specific for the low back. One thing I have noted in these years of teaching is that a lot of us have a great deal of stress in the low back. And when we come to yin, we can wonder, this is so intense, is this good for the back? Most of the time it ends up being the best thing, because things tend to get so locked that then more problems arise. And what we actually usually need is more mobility. So here, remember to go slow, normal. If it feels really intense, we're going to go into the QL area. And remember that in our lives, right, we have no rib cage in this low back area to support. If your core is weak, that can really affect the back. So part of it is that we might be in our yin practice doing a kind of stretching, but in the yang, you might be adding core so that we're finding this yin-yang quality. Okay, so now come on to the back, very gentle when you're ready. And what we're going to do here, I want you to first squeeze both your knees in. And then what you're going to do, I want you to extend the left leg away. So we're going to do this first twist today. So I keep this right knee in, and then I'm going to actually be dropping my right knee over to the left. And so probably feeling that stretch throughout this side. And it's different for everybody. You might drop this arm out and get some arm stretch too. So yeah, just very, very gentle on the back. Left leg's on the ground, the right knee's in, and that right knee is going to drop to the left. Yep, and I'm going to give us, we're going to do 5 minutes here. So just take it very, very slowly. Good, just really gentle. We might feel like clicking, popping movements. One of the things that I talk the most about is sleep. And remember that on my channel here, you can be sure to check out that whole lecture that I have, that whole section about sleep and neurobiology of sleep and its connection to yoga, specifically Yin Yoga. But know that as we add the practice in, hopefully we're going to find a more restful experience. Hopefully we're going to sleep better and have that richer dream realm. And so we practice for so many different reasons, right? We're not just practicing so that we can become more flexible, but we might really find that part of the practice is we create space and it helps us to sleep. Good, just keep breathing. Keep the face soft. I want you to observe at this point if perhaps your thoughts have started to slow. Just keep breathing. A lot of what Yin provides is time. Yoga at its root, at its core, believes that everyone has the ability to attain this quality of enlightenment. But what we have to do is have time, and we have to turn the gaze inward. We know that meditation works, but the truth is, meditation is hard. And Yin can provide that kind of bridge, this ability to learn meditation, but along the way, we learn a lot about the body as well. Good, keep breathing. Let's try to keep the face soft. We're noticing, where do we hold the most tension? Just gently notice again where the thoughts go. Are we in the past? Are we in the future? Are we present? It can be hard to not judge, but we're just gently observing. Good, just keep breathing here. And remember that part of what Yin does is it allows us to process. It's okay if we're, thinking about the past and the future. This is a time to process. In time, our thoughts may slow, but we are also using this time to process so that when we lay down to sleep, the mind will already have done that kind of daydreaming and pre-cleansing that it really, really needs in order to have that proper sleep. Very good. Now, I want you to gentle release. That might feel very intense. Go slow. Be sure to take what we want between the sides. This will be our final piece for right now. And one thing that you're going to note, so in this twist, we're thinking about how do we sleep. We're thinking about even the shapes that we sleep in. Do we always lay on the belly? Do we turn the head to one side? Does one leg fall out? Do we sleep on one shoulder? We're going to notice, are the twists even different left and right? And does that somehow affect or connect with sleeping? Okay, so second side with the knees in. Now we're going to put that right leg on the ground. Keeping this left knee in, I'm going to drop it over to the right. So now if I want, I can actually extend that left arm out. Go slow. I'm going to give us 5 again. And this side could be totally different. Good, yeah, and just keep breathing. as you're breathing here, I would tell you that in these years of teaching yoga, especially Yin, one thing I've come to realize is that in a way, no one can really teach us. We kind of have to teach ourselves. And what Yin is really good at is showing a path to do that. We can't try to make it look like what someone else is doing. We have to get to know the self. Yin provides a really good way to find out about the self, our bio-individual, as far as our skeleton. We get to know so much more about the physical body. And along the way, we're really, really getting to know the self. But we approach this slow because, like I've said, this is a challenging practice. And I promise it will be worth it. Our goal is just to proceed slowly, to be consistent. For some of you, that's going to be doing Yin once a week. Maybe it's twice a week. Maybe it's 5 times a week. Some of you may also be walking or running or doing kung fu or dancing or doing vinyasa. Some of you will garden or sew or fix Harleys. Whatever it is that you do, you're going to find these other things that provide the physical yang quality, but also that provide joy and balance in our lives. So yoga becomes this larger aspect of union and connection. We'll become more connected in every way, both on and off the mat. Good, just keep breathing. Keep breathing. Keep the face soft. Remember, you're noticing the details and the differences. Maybe these twists are pretty much the same. Maybe one is a lot harder than the other. Keep breathing. Keep the face soft. Exhale very, very slowly, super, super slow. And now, when you're ready, you could gently, gently bring the knees in, and you might do like happy baby. So we could squeeze our knees in. You could also do like peace fingers to the big toe. You can kind of rock a little bit like that. You can also take the hands, like soles of the feet out, or sorry, hands outside the feet, like on the soles of the feet. And again, you can kind of rock, massage, anything that we want. When you're ready, I want you to come to Savasana. And so you'll have the feet probably like as wide as the mat. I want you to get warm and comfortable, so you might need to cover with a blanket, probably with the palms facing up here. Yep, so come to that space. And I'm going to give you 5 minutes in Shavasana. And you can close the eyes, you don't have to. If it's comfortable, I recommend that you do. And so what you're doing is you are attempting to soften the body as much as possible while awake. And at times we might find ourselves falling asleep, and that's okay. But pretty soon you're going to train yourself so that when you come to Shavasana, you're going to hover in this sweet space between being awake and being asleep. And you're just going to hover there, and you're going to experience that complete relaxation. Taking Shavasana now.
gentle. In Savasana, I want you to start to ground back into yourself. Very, very gentle. Move the fingers and move the toes. And make very tiny micro movement in the head and the neck. Just very, very gentle. You're going to awaken the body when you're ready, and you might keep the eyes closed. You're going to roll to one side, and then very gentle, you're going to press yourself back up. And when you're ready, you'll return to any comfortable seated space. We come to seated space, and in closing, we bring our hands to the heart, and I want you to remember your intentions. Remember your dedication. Let us remember why we practice yoga. Let us remember that all the things that we do and all the things that we say and all the energetic arrows that we shoot, they matter and they have tremendous impact inside of us and all around us. May the practices of yoga and meditation make us better in every way. I say to all of you, and you say to me, Namaste. And thank you all so much for joining me today. Be sure to click the like button and subscribe. And again, if you click the bell, it will send you notifications for when I have new videos available. Be sure to check out my website, sarasvatihewitt.com. You can also find me through Facebook and Instagram and Spotify, and you can check out my other videos. Thank you all very much.